Hey, welcome to this MERN application starter guide. In this video, I'll guide you through building both the backend and the front end of the website. For the backend, we'll develop 5 API endpoints and enable image uploads. On the front end, our main focus will be displaying the data, adding new data, and updating existing data. We won't cover CSS styling in this tutorial. Hey, welcome everybody. I've already created a new folder called MERN, and inside this folder is where we're going to be creating our server and our client project. They're going to be two different projects, but we're going to store them in one folder so they're easily accessible. So to start with, we're going to create the server. So new folder server, and we can open this MERN folder inside Visual Studio Code. On Windows, there is a shortcut by doing left shift right click and open in terminal. Then we can do code period, and this will open Visual Studio Code. On the left side we have the Explorer, and as you can see we are in the MERN folder and we have the server folder that we just created. So we can either use the PowerShell from here, or we can use the terminal from inside Visual Studio Code. For me, because I'm zoomed in, I need to press on the three dots, terminal, new terminal. As you can see, we're currently in the MERN folder, which is correct, but we need to navigate to the server folder so we can initialize a new project. In order to do this, we can do cd server, and from here we can initialize a new project by doing npm init-y, and the -y flag is just going to skip all of the questions and create the package.json file for us. Now let's clear this and let's install all of the packages that we need. So I'm going to do npm I for install, and then we're going to do course.env, express, and mongoose. I will explain every single package as when we use it in the project. Let's clear this one more time, and I'm going to install a development package called node-mon. So npm I for install, and then this is going to be --save-dev node-mon. Node-mon is going to help us restart the server every time we make a change in our project. It's just a nice way of developing in Node.js. Let's minimize this, and the first thing that I would like to do is go to the server folder and create a .env file. Inside this .env file, later on in the tutorial, we're going to be storing the MongoDB connection string, which will contain our username and password. So we need to keep this safe. And in most cases, people will publish this project on GitHub and you don't want to expose your username and password. So what we can do is create a new file called .gitignore. Inside this file, we can tell which files and folders to ignore. So I'm going to do .env. Save this and we're good to go. Now let's open the package.json file and have a look at it quickly. So from here we have the name, version, and description, and if we look below we have the script, which I'm going to look in a second, dependencies and development dependencies. Now as of currently, these are the dependencies that we're going to be using today, and these are the current versions. In future they're most likely going to change, so note that there might be breaking changes and you might have to Google the errors. Feel free to comment below if you have any problems, but another way is to install exactly the same versions as the one I have. You can literally copy this and then do npm install, and it's going to install those versions for you as well. And the last thing that we're going to look into is the development dependency, which is node-mon. Now let's focus on the scripts super quickly. Scripts where we can basically tell a server to start a project, or we can tell node-mon to listen on local changes and restart the server. So from here we need to add two more. The first one is going to be start, and the start is going to be just index.js. This is going to be kind of like the brain of our project, index.js, which we're going to create in a second. So when you publish your project online, you normally use the start script and it's going to start the file that you want. But when we develop locally, we can do another one. You can call it whatever you like, dev for development, and then from here I want node-mon to listen for changes. So I'm going to do node-mon and then index.js, which is the same file. So essentially we're going to start a script called development, and this script is going to run node-mon and is going to listen for changes. That's pretty much it. Save this and close it. Now let's create our index.js file inside the server. So index.js, and from here we can start including all of the libraries that we need. So the first package that we need is going to be .env. So require, and then this is going to be .env, and as I mentioned earlier, this is going to contain our MongoDB connection string. So let's do config and we're done. Now let's add the other packages that we need. Const course equals require, and we require course. CORS is cross-origin resource sharing, which is going to allow or React application to reach our server. Without this, we won't be able to fetch any data because technically speaking, they're two different websites and they won't be able to talk to each other. Now we need to do const express equals require, and then we require express like so. Express is what we're going to be using to start our server. It makes things so much easier, and there is a lot of packages that you can use with Express, and that's pretty much the basic. So let's create our server first of all, const app and then express, and we can start this function. If you hover over Express here, you will see that this function creates an Express application, and then we can do const and put a port number for application, and then this is going to be process.env and then port. Now, this is mainly used for when you upload your project on a server online and you want to use the default port number, because they vary. Different companies use different port numbers, but when we're developing locally, we want to set a default one, which is going to be 8000. And that needs to be different to the React one, just to mention. Now, let's create a super basic route and see whether we can start the server. So I'm going to do app.get, and this is going to be a home route. So if we don't put anything here, this is going to be home, but if you wish, you can put about and so on. So that's going to be it. And then from here, we can do request and the response. This is going to be an arrow function, and inside here, we can do something like rest.json and then maybe hello mate. And now we can start our server by doing app.listen, and then we can listen on the port number here. And then this is going to be an arrow function like so. And inside here, we can do console log. And in single slanted quotes, this is very important because it allows us to add template literals. We can do server is running on port, and then we can bring the port number with the $, curly bracket, and then port like so from here. Let's see whether we can run our server. So I'm going to go on the terminal one more time. In fact, I'm going to use the shortcut, which is Control and the @ key on my keyboard, I believe. And from here, we can do npm run dev, which is the development command that we added inside package.json. As you can see, NodeMon has started the node index.js file and it's running on port 80,000. If I was to come here and make a change, let's say we make a space and save it, you will see that NodeMon restarts the server straight away, which is exactly what we want. So I'm going to go back here and let's try to visit our server in the browser. So if you open the browser and if you go to localhost of port 80,000, you should be able to see hello mate. And that's the first step of creating our server. All right, let's minimize this. Our application is running, which is amazing. And we can also create another route, for example, here, which can be kind of like our 404 route. So app.get, and if we put star, this means that everything else, it's going to maybe do just JSON 404. You can also do it as .status, send status, or whatever. So if I was to go on the browser, refresh, this is still working. But if I go to /about, let's say, you will see that we're getting not found, which is awesome. Let's go back and let's go back to the project. And now let's set up some of the middleware that we need. So first of all, we've required CORS, but we haven't used it. So somewhere around here, we can set up our middleware. And to allow CORS, the very basic we can do is app.use, and then we can just do CORS. Just like we're initializing the Express application here, we're doing the same with CORS, and this is what's going to allow the cross-origin resource sharing. We're also going to pass JSON data in our body of application, and in order to be able to do this, we can use Express, and we can set up some middleware. So app.use, and then express.url encoded, and then we need to put this setting inside here, which is called extended to true like so. And we want one more, app.use, and inside here we can do express.json like so, and save. Make sure that your application is running. You can just refresh the browser, or you can look into your command line here, and if everything is good, we can continue. All right, now is a good time to create our database and connect to it. So let's go back to the browser, go to mongodb.com, click try free if you haven't got an account yet. From here, you can use the form to sign up, or you can use sign up with Google. I've already got an account, so I'm going to click sign in. Okay, once you're in, your dashboard should look something similar to this. If you haven't created any projects yet, you might just have a big green button and all you need to do is create a new project. For me, I can click here on the drop down menu and click new project. Let's call this one MERN _1 because I've already got a MERN project, and I'm gonna click next. From here, we need to select a project owner, which is gonna be me. And we need to build a database. Now we can choose of where we want to deploy our database, and I'm going to choose the M0 cluster here. Scroll down. I'm going to leave this as default to AWS, but you can choose whatever you wish. And then I'm going to change the region to be the closest to me. So in this case, maybe I can use Ireland. And for the name, I'm going to leave it as default, but feel free to change this. And then click create. In this step, we need to create our username and password. And if you scroll down a little bit more, you should see that they've already created a username and password that I can use. So I'm going to copy the username, paste it inside the .env here. And I'm going to copy the password as well and paste it inside here. And now let's create the user. After this, I have my local environment selected. From here, you need to add your IP address so you can connect to the database from your computer, and then finish and close. While the cluster is provisioning, this is going to take a couple of seconds. We can go to network access. And I just wanted to show you that if you wish to, you can delete your current IP from here and you can add another one, and you can allow access from anywhere and confirm. Now this is going to allow me to connect to the database from anywhere. All right, let's go back to the database. While this is provisioning, we can click on connect and then select MongoDB for VS Code. From here, copy the connection string, so copy, and then go back to your .env file. And we need to create a name that we can use in our application. So in this case, I'm going to call this MongoDB _URI, and don't make any spaces around here, and then paste your connection string. Now, if we focus super quickly on the connection string, you will see that we have the username, which is already added, and then inside here we have the password. So we need to replace this with the password that we created earlier. So I'm going to paste in here. Let's remove ready. And then here at the back, select a database that we want to use. In this case, I'm going to call my database box and save. Let's close the .env file now, and let's have a look at how we can connect to a database. So let's open the Explorer, and inside here we can create another file called connectdb. And then this is going to be a .js file. So from here, in order to connect to a database, we need to require mongoose. So const mongoose equals require, and then we require mongoose. And now we need to create our connection function. So const, we can call it connectdb. And this is going to be an asynchronous function like so. And then inside here, we can do the logic. Before we do anything though, I want to export this function so we can use it inside the index.js file. Sometimes our files get a little bit longer and then we forget to do it. So module.export equals, and then the function name, which is this one here. Close this, and now we can do the functionality. So since this is an asynchronous function, we can do try catch, and then inside the try, we can try to connect. So the first thing that I'm going to do is set a mongoose setting, which is going to remove some of the warnings inside the command line that we don't want. So mongoose set, and from here we can do strict query. And this needs to be set to false. And now let's do our connection. So const con, I'm going to call it, and then this is going to be await mongoose dot connect, and then we need to connect to the string here that we've added. So potentially you could copy this and put it, but that's not really safe. You want to be using the .env file instead, and we can copy the name from here, MongoDB URI, and reuse it inside here by doing process.env and then the name. That's it. And that's going to bring the string. And now we can do console.log, and then inside here we can do database connected, and then we can use template one more time. Because I'm using the slanted quotes, we can do con, which is the constant here, and then dot connection and then .host. That's it. And now if you wish, we can console log the error, which comes from here, from the catch statement. And we can also terminate the process by doing process.exit 1, and we're done. Okay, this is our connection string created. And now we can use this in our index.js file. So I can go back, and somewhere around here, we need to bring this file first of all. So I'm going to do const connectdb. And then this is going to be equals require. And since this file is literally next to the index.js, we can do / and then connectdb. Like so. We don't need to specify .js or anything like that. And now we can run this function. So copy it. I'll run it here by our middleware. And that's it. If we open the command line, you should see that we have servers running on port 80,000 because I saved nodemon refreshed, and now we have database connected and then the string. Now, one thing that I wanted to show you is that if I was to make a mistake, let's open the .env file first of all, which is a good one. And if I was to change this, let's say my username is wrong, I'm going to put Roddy and save. Now look, that nodemon did not refresh. This is because nodemon will not refresh when you make changes in the .env file. So you would need to stop the process. So Control and X, or no, Control and C to terminate the process, and then Y to press yes. And now our nodemon is not written, and I can rerun it by doing up and then npm run dev. And now you should see that our application crashed, and this is because we're getting Mongoose server error, but authentication failed. And obviously this is because I've messed up my username. So I'm going to remove this, save, and then I need to restart the server one more time. And now we should be able to connect. Perfect. Let's minimize this, close the .env, close the connection DB, and now let's focus on creating our model. Okay, let's open the Explorer here, and let's create a new folder called models. And then inside here, I'm going to create one model called books.js. So models is essentially our database table and the fields. So we can essentially create the fields inside here. And this is really powerful because you can kind of like do backend validation as well. And you can set all the fields super quickly. So let me show you what I mean. First of all, we need to require mongoose. Const mongoose equals require, and then we require mongoose just like so, and now we can use it. And we also need to require schema in this case from mongoose, so const schema, and this is going to be equals mongoose from here, and then we're grabbing the schema. That's it. And now we can create our schema by doing const, maybe we can call it book schema, and this is going to be equals new schema, like so. And then inside here is where we define our fields. Now, before we do this, we need to export this so we can use it. And again, this might get a little bit longer, this file, and you might forget to do this and it's probably going to error. So module, now export equals mongoose dot model. And then the model that we want to export is going to be called book. And then we put the book schema here. That's it. And now we can create our field. Now, most of our fields will be more or less the same. So I'm going to do, so let's start with the title. And then the title is going to have a type of string. And it's going to be a required field. So true. So in this case, if we have required set to true, and if you don't provide a title, then it's not going to insert any data and it's going to tell you that, which is great, but also it's going to be annoying if we do it on every single field, because when we build the application, we're going to do the fields one by one, and I don't want every single field to not allow me to insert data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to leave it only on the title. So slug, of course, slug is going to be required, but I'm going to comment it out just so we don't get this error every single time. Slug, and then later on we can unrequire them, if that makes sense. Now I'm going to do one more. This is going to be the description. The description is going to be the type of string. And then we can do a thumbnail for image. This is going to be the type of string because we're going to be saving the files locally on our server and then just saving the URL in the database to reference it. Then we can have stars. This can be the type of number. And then we can have one more category. And this is going to be the type of array. And then last one is going to be created at. And then this is going to be the type of date. When I create a new record, I want to be able to know when this record was created. And we can set up a default one. So this is another option. And then we can do date. And I'm going to use JavaScript here to do it. Now, like so. I think there are a couple of different methods of doing this. But this has worked for me. So I'm going to leave it as it is. And that's it. That's our model. If you want to see the whole thing, I will zoom out. And here it is. Let's zoom back in, close this. Let's go back to our index.js file. And we need to include this just like we included the database. So around here, we can do const book equals and then require. And now this is going to be inside .models and then /book like so. And that's it. Right, since our first route is going to be getting data, what I want to do is insert a little bit of data into the database so we can use it. So what I'm going to do is inside the server, I'm going to create a new file called data.json. Don't create this one, by the way. And I'm going to copy some data that I've prepared. So I'm going to copy and paste it. And essentially, I've created a couple of books. So I've added the title, the thumbnail, the slug, the description, the stars, and a couple of categories. As you can see, the title is a string, the thumbnail is a string, and essentially I have a reference to the actual image. So it has .jpeg at the end. We have the slug, which is kind of like a nice friendly slug. We don't have any special characters. And then for the description, just a little bit of text. And then category is an array. So I can copy this. And by the way, I'm going to save this for you. I can copy this, go back to our database here in MongoDB. And then if you click on browse collections, you might see that we have this books database and this books table. This is purely because early in this tutorial, I created this .env file and I added the database name of books. And here in my index.js, I required my model book. And that's why it's actually created the books. So I didn't have to do anything to do that. It created it automatically. And now I can insert some data into the collections. In order to do this, we can click insert document. And then from here, we can use this view here. And then we can remove everything, by the way. And now paste the whole document. Insert. This should take a second. And now we have a couple of books that we can use. Now let's jump back to our MERN folder and server here. And from here, I want to create an uploads folder. So I'm going to create a new folder and call it uploads. So inside this folder is where I'm going to be pasting a couple of images for our books. I'm going to copy and paste them. They're saved from Amazon. So here they are. And I'm going to be using them. And we can now close this. Okay, now just for testing purposes, let's do our first route. And let's see whether we can retrieve the data. And then we'll jump into React and we'll build the other route as when we use them, just so we know what's going on. So in order to create a route, we can literally copy this one here and we can create it around here. This can be our API/books route, and this is going to fetch all the books for us or a limited amount. We need to convert this into an asynchronous function like so. And then from here, we can do try catch. And then to retrieve the data, we can simply do const data equals await. We can use our book model from here. So book and then find. By the way, you can see all of the Mongoose commands here. Find by ID and delete, find one, and so on. So I'm going to use find in this case. And then in order to find everything, all you need to put is curly brackets and leave this empty like so. And now if you want to display the data, we can do res.json. And then inside here, we can just do data. That's it. And if you want to catch the error, we can do res.status 500.json, and then we can pass the error. An error occurred while fetching books. Perfect. Now, if we save this, and if you go to this route, you should be able to see that we're getting all of the books in here. And now we can use this as our API inside React. And when we start using this API, I'm going to show you how we can do filters. And for example, a very easy one can be limit. And then we can put 2. And now if I refresh, you'll be able to see that I'm only getting 2 books, which is amazing. Okay, now is a good time to start creating our React application. So if I go here in the Explorer, and we need to be inside the MERN folder. Open the terminal. So I'm going to do Control and the @ symbol, and this is going to open it for me. And then in fact, I need a new one. So I believe I can press the plus sign here, and this is going to open a new terminal. So we have 2 terminals running in parallel. So from here, let's jump into vite.js.dev and let's click on Get Started. Scroll down a little bit and you'll be able to see the commands from here. So we can use npm create vite at latest. So I'm going to copy this, go back to my terminal, and we're currently inside the MERN folder. So I'm going to paste this and then press enter. This is going to ask me for the project name, and I'm just going to call it client. Press enter, choose React, and then I'm going to be using JavaScript. As you can see, this created a client folder for me now, which is my React application. Do the following commands in here. So we need to cd client, and we're now inside the client folder. And now we can do npm I for install. And then just like our Node.js application, we can do npm run dev. Press enter, and our application should start. And for me, it started under the localhost of 5173. I can hold Control and press on it, and this should open it in the browser. And as you can see, we have our React application working. Let's jump back to Visual Studio Code and let's go into the source super quickly. And then from here, we can look into the index.js file. I'm going to minimize this while everything is running, and I'm going to remove everything from the index.css file, and I'm going to replace it with the CSS that I've done for this tutorial, and this CSS will be linked in the description below. We're not going to be doing any CSS in this tutorial, so I'm going to copy and paste it, and I'm going to show you super quickly. It's only very basic styles. In fact, I've copied them from the Vite default ones, and I've just changed the background color and the color of the typography pretty much. And then I've styled the inputs a little bit just so they look a little bit better. As you can see, I've styled the links. The image is fully responsive. And that's more or less it. I've got some very basic styles here for the books. And that's more or less it. Nothing special, just very basic styles. So let's save this. Close it. Let's go to app.css. I'll remove everything from here as well. And save this. We can definitely remove this file as we won't need it, like so. And now we can jump into the app.jsx file from here, and we can pretty much remove everything from here, and we'll build as we go. So let's remove everything, and inside the return, we can just remove everything as well. Save this. Let's jump into the main.jsx file. Let's remove the index.css as we won't need that, and save. Going back to the app.jsx file, let's save this. Let's go back to our application, and as you can see, we're getting a blank screen. So if I do hello, save it, you should be able to get hello, and that's it. Also inside assets here, we have a logo, which I'm going to be reusing for application. And also I'm going to drop an image, which is essentially just a placeholder saying no image selected. And that's more or less it. Now let's open the terminal one more time here. Everything is running, our backend is running, and our front end is running, as you can see. But I want to stop the front end so we can install another package. So Control C, and then we can do npm install, and the package that I want to install is called React Router DOM. This is what's going to allow us to do the routing for application, and it's going to be very easy to use. You'll see in a second. So essentially, we're going to create a couple of pages. I'm going to include the router, and then we'll be able to browse through them. We also need to run the project one more time. So if I press up, then we can do npm run dev. Okay, make sure that your project is running, and let's minimize this. And now we can start building application. So we actually need to import this React router. Import browser router as router, route, and route. You'll see how all of them work in a sec. And then from here we can do from React router DOM. That's it. Let's minimize this. This will make sense in a second. So inside here, we can also put our header and we can have our footer at the bottom. So essentially we're going to have the header and the footer on every page, but we only want to change the route, the content inside. So let me show you first of all how we can, let's tidy things up and let's create our first route so we can include in here. If you go back under client source, inside here we need to create a new folder called route. And then the first route is going to be called home. So inside home is where we're going to create another file called home.jsx. And now I'm going to be using an extension. If you go to extensions super quickly, and if you look at this one here, ES7 plus React Redux React Native Snippets, this is going to save us a lot of time, and I'm going to show you how right now. So I've got this installed, and then from here, I can do RFCE, and this is going to create a React functional export component. If I click on it, and we're done. So I'm going to put this as a capital letter, and I'm going to put this home like so. So this is our homepage created. I'm going to copy and paste a little bit of text. Literally, it's just going to say an H1 with home. And then I'm going to say miniature Vite plus React demo website. It uses Node.js Express MongoDB as a backend. That's it. Save this. Let's go back to our app.jsx and let's import it. So here at the top, we can do import home from and then route/home/home. And now we can use this inside the routes by doing route path. And then this is the path of which of where you want to navigate in order to see this page. So in this case, this is going to be the /route because this is the home route. And then this is going to render the element of home. So equals, in curly brackets, we open home and we close it like so. Okay. I hope that you can see this and save. And in fact, I've made a mistake. We don't need this. We can just close it like so. And that's it. Awesome. And if we go back super quickly to the main.jsx, we need to also import the index.css. I believe that I removed it. So I'm going to do import and then .index.css. All right, let's save this, remove this. And now if you go back to the website, you should be able to see that we have header or homepage here rendered and our footer. If you go back, you should see a header, footer, and our homepage rendered. Just like this, we can create a couple of more routes. So I'm going to create one more just so you know how it works. So inside route, I'm going to create another one called about. And inside the about, we're going to create another file called about.jsx. And then we're going to do RFCE and press enter. Make this a capital letter. And then for the about page, I'm going to copy and paste a little bit of text. So pretty much exactly the same. I'm going to copy and paste an H1 with a little bit of text. But for this one, I've prepared a table of how our routes are going to be looking like. You definitely don't need this. So I'm going to put a table here, which is essentially a table that shows our route. You'll see in a second. You don't need to do this one here. And save it. If we close this, and if you go to app.jsx, we can include about by doing Alt-Shift down to duplicate this line, and then we can do about, copy this, paste it. Oops, this needs to be small because the file. And now we can do another route inside here. So Control-Shift down, and then this is going to be our about page, and then this is going to be the about route. Save this. If you go back, you should see no change, but if I go under /about and press enter, you'll see that we're getting the about page, which also contains the header and the footer. And I've just got a little bit of demo text. And by the way, I am zoomed in quite a bit. The website is kind of like tiny. So I just created like a little table. for myself, which is kind of like shows what the all routes are going to be like. Now let's have a look how we can do the header and the footer so we can have a working navigation. This is going to be slightly different. I'm going to open the Explorer here, and then let's create a new folder inside source called components. And I want to create two files in here. So the first one is going to be header.jsx, and then the second one is going to be the footer.jsx. So let's start with a header. I'm going to do RFCE, and then inside the header here, we need to bring the React router DOM one more time because we're going to have navigation. So I'm going to do import. I'm going to include the link and then the nav link. And then this is going to be from React router DOM. Inside here, I'm going to remove the header and I'm going to wrap this into a header file like so. Into a header HTML5 element. And inside here is where I'm going to have the logo. So we're going to wrap the logo in a link. We can use the link from here. And then this is going to be equals to. And then when we press on the logo, I just want to go to the home page. That's pretty much it. And I have a class name for it called logo. And then inside here, we can just put an image. The source of the image is going to be called logo, which I'm going to bring now. And then the alt text can be React.js. And then we can close this and maybe we can put a little bit of text. React.js like so. The logo can be the logo from assets and then this react.svg. So to import it, we can do import as logo from /assets and then /react.svg, I believe it's called, and save. We also need to create our navigation. So I'm going to do nav, and then inside the nav, we're going to use a nav link instead. So I'm going to do nav link, and the first one is going to be our home link. So 2 equals and home. And now we can duplicate this 2 more times, and I can say this one is going to be books. And this one is going to be about. Save this. Now if you tidy things up by doing right click, format document, we are looking good. Let's go back into the app.jsx and let's include the header. So let's do import header from, and then we do /components and then header. Just like so, we can include the footer as well. So I'm going to copy this line and do footer and then components footer. That's it. And now we can insert them inside here. So header and then footer. Okay. I actually did not create the footer, did I? I didn't create the footer. So I'm going to jump into the footer.jsx and do RFCE. And I'm just going to do change the div to footer. And let's just do ampersand copy. And then copyright. And then I'm just going to do a little bit of JavaScript to bring the date by doing new date. And then get full year like so. Oops, remove that. And that's it. So we have the footer as well. Let's close it. And let's go back to our website. As you can see, now we have our header and we have our footer. And if I click on home, it goes to home. If I click about, it goes to the about page and so on. Okay, this is where things are going to get a little bit more interesting now. So we need to create a book page first of all. Let's go back to the project. Let's close everything else and let's create a new route. So inside here, I'm going to create a new one called book. Let's call it book. And then inside here, we're going to do book.jsx. Let's do RFCE, press enter, and this can be book with capital letters, and that's it. I can paste a little bit of text in here so it's not that empty. So I'm just going to put an H1 with books and a little bit of text just like before. Save this. Let's jump into app.jsx and let's include that page as well. So I'm going to copy the about here and call it books, or book, sorry. And this is going to be book and then book. Copy this. Let's create another route. This is going to be /book or books. I don't know what to call it. Maybe books we can call it because there will be many books. and then we can put the book router. Save him. Let's go back. And now if I click on books, you'll see that we're getting books, home, and about. Perfect. All right, let's look into our API super quickly and see how we can fetch some data. So if I refresh super quickly, you'll notice that we're getting a lot of data here, and we can fetch this data and display it in our application. Another way of doing this, by the way, is if you copy the URL, you can use a plugin such as the Thunder client here, and then you can go to new request and then paste the URL and do a get query. So if I put send, you'll see that we're getting all the data. And just like so, you can test different methods, for example, the post, put, delete, patch, and so on. Or you can use a client such as Postman or Insomnia to do this as well. Let's close pretty much everything now, and let's focus on the book route. Inside here, I'm going to do one more, H2, let's say, and then I'm going to do fetch example. And under fetch example is where we're going to be fetching our data. At the top here, we need to import from React. So the first one being use state, and the second one being use effect hook. And I'm going to show you how we can use them now. And then I'm going to import link as well. So import link from, and this is going to be React router DOM. I'm seeing some inconsistency here, so I'm going to change it. And now we need to be inside the function of box here. So inside here and before the return, and we can start by bringing our URL. So for example, this URL here, I can copy and I can save it into a const called base URL. And this is going to be equals in double quote or single quote. You can put HTTP column / localhost of 8000 API box. So the first thing that we're going to use is use state. And this is going to be used in order to store and change the data that we're getting from the database. So let me show you what I mean. Const, and then we're going to do data and then set data. And this is going to be equals use state, and we're going to have an empty array like so. So essentially data is where our JSON is going to go, this. And then when we need to refresh it, update it, we're going to be using the set data. And let me show you how we can use that. So now we're going to be using the use effect in order to be able to get the data and also update it if we wish to. So use effect, and inside here, I'm going to open and close it. And this is going to be an arrow function. So we can do it like that. And inside curly bracket, we can do the logic const fetch data. And this is going to be an asynchronous function. And inside here, we can do try catch. And then inside the try, we can do the logic to get the data. And inside the catch, we can console log the error and handle the error later on. So I'm going to do console.log and do error for now. And we'll come back to it in a second. So for this project, I'm going to be using fetch, and we won't have to install anything else. But feel free to use whatever library you wish, such as Axios. We're going to do const response equals await fetch. And now we just need to put the URL located inside base URL. So I'm going to bring it like so, and that's it. Now we can fetch the data. If we fetch the data successfully, this response will return an object called OK. So for example, we can do, if we don't get a response, .ok, throw an error. So throw new error. And inside here, we can do fail to fetch data. Just like so. But if we do get the data, then we can do const, and we need to convert the response into JSON. For example, I can just call it JSON data. And then equals await, and then response.json. So we're getting the response from here and converting it into JSON. And essentially now I can use state and specifically set data in order to update the data inside here. So I'm going to do set data, and then we bring the JSON data from here. And that's kind of like more or less it. You can also console log the data if you wish to, or we can do something else. I can go here where our text is, and we can do something like pray, and then we can do JSON.stringify and then inside here I can put the data. So in this case the data will be literally called data because we're going to be using this. So data, no, and then 2, and now this is going to display in a really nice format for us. Oops. Save this, have a look at the page, and you'll see that we're getting nothing. This is because we have the fetch data function here, but we haven't actually started it. And in order to do this, I can literally grab it and paste it inside here and just start the function. Now, one thing that is very important is to do comma and then an empty array in here, because if we don't do that, this is going to keep fetching the data and it's going to make a ton of requests. So save this. I'm going to right click, format document, just to tidy things up. And now if we save and go back, you should be able to see that we're getting the data. Now we can use this data to loop through it and display it in a nice format. Item. Okay, let's wrap everything in an ordered list. And this unordered list is going to have the class name of books. And inside here, we're going to loop through the data. So I'm going to copy the data. Let's do data.map as item, for example, or you can call it book, whatever you wish. And then do, let me remove this view, and then do list. And each list will have to have a unique key. This is how React will know whether something is being updated. And in this case, our database has a unique ID. Sorry, each record has a unique ID, so I can use that. So we can do item in this case, ._ID. And then inside here is where we can display the data. And I'm going to link the data to equals. And then the route for this is going to be under single slanted quotes /books / and then $ curly brackets. And I'm going to do item.slug in order to grab the slug from here. So this is going to be the Great Gatsby. This is going to be our link. Let's see if I'm missing anything. We need to close the link and I'm going to wrap everything. And inside here is where we're going to bring the data. So for example, the image source, and the image source will be, oops, we need to open and close curly bracket, single quotes, and then we can do http //localhost /8000 /upload. This is where the images are located, and then we can bring the thumbnail. So item.thumbnail. Don't forget an alt text. Item dot. Maybe we can just put the title because I don't have an alt text. And that's it. Now we can put an h3. And then inside this h3 we can just do item.title and close it. Save this. Let's go back, refresh. And as you can see, our books are looping here and our images are broken, and this is purely because our server does not know where this upload folder is. If we open the Explorer, minimize everything, go to the server, go to index.js, and then from here where we have our middleware, we can do another one, app.use, and we're going to set our uploads folder here, where is it? Uploads folder as a static folder so it's easily accessible. So we're going to do /uploads and then express static, and then we put the uploads folder as a static folder. And this is also going to help us with uploading the images later on. So save this. Let's go back, refresh our React application. And as you can see, the images are now coming up. And if I hover over them, you will see that here on the left side, the links are changing to the slug. Now the slug is a little bit dangerous because you do need to have a unique slug. Otherwise, obviously, it might just pick up the first record in the database. And one way of mitigating and one way of fixing this, for example, would be to use an ID instead of the slug. But obviously, it does not look pretty, and that's why I'm going to use slug. But just have that in mind. Okay, let's tidy things up. So right click, format document. That looks a lot better. And let's make this a little bit better. So for example, we can set a loading state. Here where we have the data, we can create one more. And this one is going to be is loading. And then we can put set is loading. And then the use state is going to be equals set to true as default. And now we can use this set is loading. So when we fetch the data here, so we are grabbing the data, and then I can set is loading to false. So we're no longer loading the data. And the same here, I can do set loading if we get an error to false one more time. We failed to get the data, so I'm going to set it to false. And now we can actually wrap the entire bit here. So maybe the entire URL, and I can wrap it like so. So we can do is loading, question mark, open and close brackets. Inside here, we can just do a paragraph for now. Obviously, you can make something better than this. You can put an animation or something. And I'm just going to put loading. ... That doesn't look right, so I'm going to remove it. And then we're going to do else, show the data. So I'll have to wrap everything inside here and close it. Okay, save. We shouldn't see any changes now. If I refresh, no changes. But if I do right click, inspect, and if I go to network, where we have no throttling, we can select this and say slow 3G or fast 3G. Let's say slow 3G. And now refresh. Hopefully we should be able to see the page rendering super slow, and we should be able to see the loading. Here we go, loading. And now the data is loading and the images have loaded. So our loader is working. Obviously, if we do no throttling, it will show up, but it's going to be super fast. So as you can see, loading, it's super fast. Cool. That's all loading done. Let's do the same for the errors. So if I go here, we can do another one, and this is going to be error. And we can set error. The use state for the error is going to be null. And now we can use the set error. When we error here, we can do set error, and we can do something like error fetching data, please try again later. That rhymes as well, which is cool. And now I can use the error to wrap everything around here. So essentially, it's a little bit hard to see, but here we can do error. If it's loading, show the loading. If we get an error, I want to show, for example, a paragraph called error. So, or well, we can bring the error actually, because we're setting some text in here. So I can just bring the error, or you can type something, and then we can bring the box format, just like so. Okay, refresh, everything is working correctly. But if I break the API for some reason, in fact, let's just change the URL here. So maybe we go under API 1 and save it. So now you will see error fetching data, please try again later, which is awesome. And I can remove this and save. All right, just to make this a little bit better, I'm going to show you how to do filters super quickly. So for example, where we have fetch examples, I'm going to do a select menu. So this is going to be a div with the class name of filters. And inside here, we're going to have a label of categories. I'm going to remove this and just wrap it like so. Sorry about that. So label with categories, that's pretty much it. And now we can create a select. All right, select. And let's create or select super quickly. So I'm going to add a couple of options. So option 1 can be all. And then the value can be empty for this. But then I need to pause the video super quickly and just have a look at what categories we have. So we have romance, science. All right, I've copied some of the categories and now I can put them in here. So super quickly, this is going to be romance with capital letter. And by the way, make sure that the value is a smaller letter because they need to match the database. And I'm going to speed up the process here by doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe. All right, cool. All right, here the categories, I've probably added too many to be fair, but that should be fine. And now if I was to save this, let's go back to the browser. And here we are. We have a couple of categories. So the idea is when I click on a category, let's say science, I want the books to go to the database and bring me all the science books, if that makes sense. All right, in order to do this, first of all, let's go here at the top and let's create one more use state. So I'm going to copy this one here, select the category. And now we can do set selected category. And then the use state for this can be just empty like so. And that's it. And now we can use this. In fact, let me copy it. And we can put it inside here. So on change, event, and then this is going to be an arrow function. And now we can set the event inside the set selected category by doing the event dot target. And then we target the value that we've selected like so. So when we selected one of those options, the value will be saved into the set selected category. And now we need to add this category to the URL. So for example, we have the base URL in here, but I'm going to modify a little bit and maybe we can do it like so. So maybe we can do let URL equals base URL. And then if selected category, which is here, then we want to do URL. So the current URL, which is this here, and we want to add a URL parameter to it by doing plus equals, and then essentially we can do question mark category, or you can shorten it if you wish, and then $, and then the selected category, which is this here. And we will need to change the base URL here to the URL, which is fine. And that's it. Essentially, if I go back to the API where we have books, what I want to do is put category and then the category name. So for example, crime, and then bring the crime. At the moment, it's just going to go and fetch exactly the same books. And this is because we need to do this on the back end. So if you go back super quickly, and then if we go back to the server index and find the API books router, inside here is where we need to grab the parameters from the URL and do the query. So in order to grab the query, we can go here on the tribe and we can do const category equals, and then we can do request dot query and then dot category like so, and we will be able to capture the category from the URL. We can also console log this if you wish to. So category, and now if I go back to the browser and let's say we press enter in the crime here, let's open the command line, go to the Node.js here, and you'll be able to see that we're getting crime, which is amazing. Now we need to bring this category into here, but if you wish to create more, for example, you might want to create rating, you do something like stars, and then this is going to be equals stars. For example, I'm not going to do that, but if you do it, let me remove this. We need to put it into a filter object. So we can do const filter equals, and then the filter. And then we can do if we have category. If we grab this from the URL, then we can add it. Then we can add it to the filter. So filter dot category, and then equals category. That's it. So we're adding this object of category to the filter, and then the data comes from here. And now we can use this filter into our find here query, just like so, and we're done. Save it. And if we go back and if we do crime, hopefully the data should change. And I'm going to copy science for the next one. All right, we have 2 crime books, and I'm going to put science. And just like that, when we go to the React app super quickly, we're putting category here. And when we select one from here, we're changing the event. We're selecting one of these, setting it to set selected category. And then hopefully we are updating the URL, if that makes sense. But there is one more thing. This is where we use effect and we listen kind of like on changes. So if the selected category changes, which is here, then we want to refresh the data, for example. And I can put it inside here like so. And that's it. Save it. Now if you go back to a React app, refresh just in case. And then if I go and do romance, we're getting 1 book. If we go science, we're probably just getting 1 as well. Crime, we're getting 2. Food, that changed. Adventure, trailer, fiction, and other. Perfect. And if I press null, it sends an empty value, and then it's basically kind of like this. And then obviously that displays all the data. Awesome. All right, now we can do the detailed view of our books. For example, when I click on this one here, we can grab the slug and then display the rest of the data for the book. So the first thing I'm going to do is the route. So I'm going to jump to the server and then index.js, and essentially we can copy most of the stuff from here. I'm going to copy this and paste it around here. So this is going to be more or less the same. In this case, I'm going to be removing all this and changing it a little bit. So here we have the slug, and what we can do is after the books, this is going to be another get route, by the way, and this is going to be slash and then slug. As I mentioned earlier in the tutorial, you can use ID if you wish to, but make sure that your slugs are unique in order for this to work. So to grab the slug in Node.js, we can do const, and we can call it something like slug parameter, param, whatever, and then request.params, and then slug. This needs to match this basically. If it's ID, put it as an ID. That's it. And now you could console log this if you wish to. The log and then slug param like so. And now if I visit the new request here, and if we do, let's say slash rad, and if I send this, an error fetching books. Did I save this, by the way? Save this. Let's open the terminal. Oh yeah, here we go. As you can see, rad. So if I put 1, 2, 3, send, we get rad 1, 2, 3, which is good. Okay. So our slug is working. I can remove the console log. And now instead of finding all books, we need to change the query and do find one instead. Remove the filter. And the book that we want to find is the one that we pass through the slug. So we can query by the slug basically. And inside here, we can do slug. So this is in the database, field in the database, and this is the data coming from the slug here. In this case, that's going to be pretty much it. If I save this, and if I go back to new request, I actually need to find a book. So let's say this slug here, The Great Gatsby, copy it. And let's do slash Great Gatsby. And here we go. We only get one book, The Great Gatsby. And now we can use this API to display the data in React.js. So if we go back to a project, let's close books. Let's go to client, source, route, books. And then inside here, we can name a single book or detailed book. Let's do single book. .jsx like so. Let's do RFCE. In fact, this is going to be a big copy and paste job. If we go to books, let's open that and let's put it to the side for a sec. And let's see what we can copy. So let's copy the stuff from the top. We need React, use state, use effect. We need the link, the base URL, the data we can copy. So I'm going to put them inside here. I'm not going to do the is loading and the error and the category change. Obviously, we don't need that. And then I'm going to copy the use effect, paste it inside here. We'll modify it just like so. We'll modify the use effect a little bit so we don't need all this. We can change this to base URL, the fetch. It's exactly the same. In this case, we're not going to set the loading. We're not going to set the error and then the loading here, just to keep it short. We need to remove the selected category, and that's more or less the basics. But we need to be able to grab the slug and send it to Node.js. So in order to do this, we're going to modify the URL a little bit. And we need to bring use params in order to get the parameters from the URL. So inside here, where we have link, we can do use params. And just like that, just like Node.js, pretty much we can get the parameters from the URL. And now here we can do const URL slug equals use params. Like so. And now I can use the params from here and just attach them to the URL, which is here. If we put this in single slanted quote, like so, we can do $, and then one more $. Can we do that? Yep, that might work. It looks a little bit odd. But then after the URL slug, we just need to grab the slug. like so. Save, and hopefully now this should get the whole URL plus the select from all URL and get the response for us. And I'm gonna go back to the book.jsx and copy this here. Save, but we didn't include this route into our main file, which is inside app.jsx, so we need to include that as well. And I'm going to copy the book here, and let's say single book, route, book, and then we're going to do single book. Let's include it into a route. And this is going to be an important one, by the way. So this is going to be book, and in order to get the parameter from the URL, we need to do slash, just like in Node.js, select, and we also need to render the single book. Save this. Let's go back to the browser. And as you can see, we're getting an empty array for some reason. So if I was to do books slash the Great Gatsby, we're getting data, which is good. And now we need to quickly debug the single book. If we inspect this super quickly, console, and it says failed to fetch data. Okay, at fetch data. Can I have a feeling that what we can do to simplify it, maybe this isn't working here. So base URL, I'm going to remove, and I'm going to grab this instead and simplify, and I'm going to put the base URL to be in here, inside here. So we're going to glue it together from here. So slash, and then $URL slug, but that needs to be on slanted quotes. And that needs to be below the URL slug use parameters. All right, cool. Save this. Let's have a look. And that seems to work. Easy fix. And now we can display the data in a better format if you wish to. So everything is working. I'm going to do right click and format. And now inside here, we can do the rest. So everything is wrapped into a div, and I'm going to use link in order to have like a little breadcrumb. So 2 equals, and then we're just going to go back to books. Maybe we can do an icon, back like so, and then books. Save this. We have it here. If I click on it, we go back to books. And now let's display the book data. So I'm going to do a div with the class name of book details. Inside here, I've created 2 very basic columns. So I'm going to do div class of col1, and then we have one more div with the class of col2. So 1 and then 2. Save it, and as you can see, this splits the layout into 2. Inside col1 is where I'm going to have the image. So I'm going to do img source equals, and then inside here we can put the whole URL. So this /upload. And this would have been better to save into an environment variable so we can reuse it, or a variable at the top, but that's fine for now. And then inside here, we can do data.thumbnail. Like so. Save. And don't forget to add an alt tag as well. So alt equals data.title. It would be nice to add the height and the width, but I'm going to skip this for now. And we have the image. If I go to another one, we have the image. Cool. Let's display the other data. So let's go to column 2, and inside column 2, I'm going to display the title in a h1. So data.title. Inside the paragraph, I'm going to display the description. So data.description. And then we're going to display the stars in a second as well. So let's do another paragraph. Stars. This is going to be a little bit special, so I'm going to show you how we can do that. Categories. Let's say category. And I'm going to do an unordered list. It's not going to look nice, but it's going to be data dot, and we can put question mark just to see whether we get the data. And in fact, we can do this on every single one. Otherwise, if something doesn't exist, we don't want to break it. Basically, we don't want to break our page, so we can do that everywhere. And then data dot category, we can do question mark dot map, and then we can set it as item. And we can also set an index, because every single list will have to have a unique key. So index, an arrow function, open and close. Inside here, we're going to do list. The list is going to have the key of index. And then we can just render the items from this category by putting items. Save this. Let's go back. Oh, and I have an error. This is not a curly bracket. This needs to be open and close the bracket. And then put 2 normal brackets in here. Okay, sorry about that. Save. And now we should get the category, Romance Science. You can capitalize them with TSS. I forgot to do that, but that's possible and you can make them a lot nicer than this. But now let's have a look at the stars. We can definitely do data.stars and save, and that should work. But let's make it a little bit better. So in this case, I'm going to make a little component here. So let's go here and create a new function. And let's call it star rating. This is going to take the number of stars. So like so. And then inside here, we're going to do const stars equals an empty array. And then for, we're just going to do a loop. So let I equals 0 and then I smaller than number of stars, and then we loop. And when we loop, we want to push the stars into this empty array. So if we have 5 stars, we want to push into here. So we're going to do stars push, and then we're going to do it, let's do it in a span. Span key, it's going to have a unique key of I. So it's going to be always unique. We're going to close the span here, and I'm going to put a star. You can put an image or whatever you like. So now we need to return this function, and this is going to be a div with the rating. And then inside here, we can put the stars. Okay. And now let me show you how we can use this. If I go around here, we can remove the stars. And inside the paragraph, in fact, it doesn't need to be inside the paragraph. We can just put it inside here. And we're going to do star rating, number of star. And inside here is where we put the number of stars. So I'm going to copy this and put data. Is it stars? Yeah, stars. And then we close. Save. And as you can see, we have 5 stars on this one. Did I give him? Okay, 4 stars on this one. So I was thinking that I gave him all 5 stars. Obviously, these are not real, by the way. It's just a random number. And that's it. So the next bit would be to edit a book. So I didn't really prepare a nice UI for this, but what I'm going to do is just put an edit button in here. Under column 1, we're going to do a link. And this link is going to go to, and then this is going to be slash slanted quote. This is going to be slash edit book slash, and then we're going to bring the data dot and then slug. So we want to go to another page called edit book, and then we're just going to bring the slug and do exactly the same thing as here. Hopefully most of it will be copy and paste. Actually, this is going to be just called edit. You can put an icon as well and so on, but that's going to be fine. So if I click on this, yep, we're getting the Hobbit, as you can see in the URL, and we need to do the page and the API for this. So far, if we go back to our server and then our index.js, we have the one that we can get the data. So let's create the route that will allow us to update the data. So I'm going to copy this, paste it here, and then instead of app.get, we're going to do app.post. And then inside here, we can put this as app.api/books, like so, and that will be fine. Asynchronous function, that's fine. Instead of the slug this time, we're going to be requesting the body parameters, so we can do request.body. And that's how we're going to be getting the data from the form. For example, we can do console.log and then request.body. And I'm going to console log this and just put, and I'm going to put data submitted instead, just so it doesn't break like so. And now if I go to Thunder Client, and if you open the last one, getting the Great Gatsby here, I'm going to remove the Great Gatsby, and instead of get, I'm going to change this to post, and I'm going to send this. So as you can see, we have data submitted. And if I was to say inside the body here, we're going to be submitting data such as the title. Let's try this. So I'm going to do title, and then the title can be hello world. And let's close this. Okay, that works. And now let's send this. And if we open the command line, you will see that we're getting console log, title hello world, and this is how we can pass data through a form. So let's build this. I'm going to minimize this. Let's go back to our index.js, and from here inside the try, we're going to do const new book equals new book, and inside here we can put the fields that we want. So we're going to have the title, and to grab the title we can use our request.body, and then the request.body is going to pass the title. So I'm going to do that, and then we can copy this 1 2 3 4 times, and this is going to be slug, this is going to be stars, this is going to be description, and then this is going to be the category. And we'll also have, and they all need to, I need to update them as well. They all need to have comma after them. And I need to add one more, which is going to be the thumbnail, but we're going to do this later on. So let's do thumbnail, and this is probably going to be file instead. So we'll do this later on, and I'm going to comment it out for now, because otherwise it's going to break our code. Alright, just like that we can grab the data, and if you wanted to submit the data, we can do something similar to this. So I'm going to remove everything from here, but we're going to do await book and then create, and then we're going to create the new book that we've passed. Alright, the only field that is required in this case is the title, so we must put the title in, otherwise it won't work. So I'm going to go to Thunder client here, and I'm going to say hello world, and then let's do another line, and then slug, hello world, stars 5, and so on. If I save this, sorry, if I send this, data submitted, which is good, and if I go back to books, hopefully we'll see hello world. Obviously it doesn't have an image and all that, but we're getting hello world, and it has the rating and so on. So that's all working. Let's have a look at how we can do this in React.js, and then we'll bring in the image as well. Okay, let's create a new route. Inside React source books, I'm going to create another one called create book.jsx, and this is going to be very similar to the single book. Open the createbook.jsx, let's do rfce, and then from here we import React, and we're just going to import the use state, because all input fields are going to need them, because we're going to be changing the data. And then I'm going to import a default image. We're going to do this later on, from /asset/ and then this is going to be no image selected, JPEG. Now we're going to create the states for form, so I'm going to do const title and then set title. This is when we change the title in the form, and then we can do use state. So the title is the only one required, so maybe we can start with 1, and then the rest will be more or less the same. For example, we're going to have slug and set slug. Alright, let's leave it as it is, and let's build the form super quickly now. I'm going to copy and paste some text in here. So create book, and then after this, we're going to create our form. And inside the form, we're going to have 2 columns. So div with the class name of call1, just like before actually. And then we're going to have one more, and this is going to be call2. This is where we're going to display the image. So I'm going to do a label, upload thumbnail, then image. Alt is going to be something like preview image. Close the image and make sure that we put the source equals, and the source is going to be image, and the source is going to be default image for now, but we'll change it later on. And we also need an input so we can upload an image. So this is going to be input, the type of file, and this can accept image, GIF, image, JPEG, image, PNG, and so on. Now let's focus on our fields. I'm gonna do the slug and the, let's focus on the fields, and I'm gonna do 2 to start with, and then the rest will be more or less the same. So inside here, we're going to do div, label, and then this label is just going to be title. Input, this input is going to have the type of text. Value is going to be the type of text, which we're going to bring in title. The value is going to be title, which we're going to create in a second. And on change, we want to be able to update the value of the field. So we're going to do an event and get the value by doing set title, which we're going to create, which we've created, and then event.target.value. And we close the field, and that's it. So essentially the value is going to be equals to title, whatever that is. As default is empty, but when we type in the input, we want to set the title to whatever is inside, and this will update the title, if that makes sense. The same for the slug. So essentially I can copy this, paste in here, and this is going to be slug, the type of text, and then the value is going to be slug, and then set slug like so, and that's it. Let's save this and let's put this into app.jsx. So where we have single book, we can copy this, and this is going to be create book, and then create book like so, and we need to put it into a router here. So this is going to be, maybe we can call it create book, and then we don't need anything else, and this is going to render the create book from above here. Save. Oh, and we don't have a link anywhere, so I'm going to go to the books page super quickly. Books. Maybe we can just add one around here after the paragraph. So this is going to be link to equals, and then create book. And I'm just going to do plus add new book. Okay. Save this, and here is the button. I click on it, we go to create new book, and we have the layout here. The layout looks a little bit broken, but we'll fix that. So let's have a look. And this is because on the form we can create a class name called book details. Save this, and here we go. So this is not going to work just yet, but let's test it with the title and the slug. Let's see how this works, and then we'll build the rest. So where we have the form, we need a button to submit the form and send the changes to Node.js. To do this, after this, I'm going to create an input, and this input is going to have the type of submit. That's it. In fact, that needs to be closed like so, and we're good. Here we go. Here is the button. It's not full width for some reason, but these are things that I can always fix. Now we need to make sure that when we press that button, the form triggers a function. We can, on the form here, we can do on submit, and then we can do create book. Copy this, and now let's create this function. So inside here, we can do const create book equals async get the event, and then inside here, we do the logic. Since this is a form, when we click on the submit button, we don't want the form to refresh. We can prevent this by doing event.prevent default, like so, and that's it. Now we can definitely console log the data just to see whether we're submitting it, and I can do console.table, for example, or log whatever, and then inside here we can do title and slug, for example. And now if I go back to the website, and if we do inspect, and if we put console here, let's do ready, and then this is a slug submitted, you will see that we're getting, it doesn't say what it is, but we're getting the values ready, and this is a slug. Maybe I could have paired them. Here no, it doesn't say what it is. But yeah, we're getting the values, which is the important bit here, which is good. And now let's have a look at how we can post this, and we'll build the rest of the form. So in order to post this, we can wrap everything into a try catch. Inside here, we can do const response equals await fetch, and then I'm going to speed up the process and do HTTP localhost of 8000 API/books. Inside here we can change the method. As default is get, but this time we're gonna post data, and then we can change the headers. And the headers are gonna be content type, and then they're gonna be set to application JSON. And also we're gonna pass the body, which is gonna be our data. So we're gonna do body. And then we need to JSON stringify .json stringify, and then we can pass the object in here. So for example, let's do title, and then this is going to be new book 2023 slug new book 2023, and so on. Actually, this needs to come from the form. You could test it like this, but this needs to come from the form. So I'm going to grab the title from here and change the data. I'm going to grab the slug and change the data like so. After we're done with the response, we can check whether the response was fine, and we can do if response dot OK. And then if it was, we can reset the form. So for example, we can do set title, and then we can set the title to be empty. And then we can do the same for the slug. So set slug, and this can be empty. Else, maybe we can do console log. Failed to submit data. What else do we need? Of course, you can handle the error here. So you can just do maybe console.log and then error for now, and that's it. So now if I go back to the website, and if we do new book 2023, by the way, if I open this in another tab, you will see that we don't get the book here, which is good. And now I can do new book 2023, whoops, 23, submit it. These fields are now gone, and now if I refresh here, you should see that we're getting the new book. Amazing. Now let's do the rest of the input, since we know that this is working, and I'm going to start from the top here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to do stars, set stars. The stars is going to be use state set to 0 as default. Then we're going to have the description. And then set description. The use state can be fine for this one. Categories. The use state for categories needs to be an empty array, because we're going to have more than one category. Thumbnail. Set thumbnail. This is going to be equals no to start with. And then the last one is going to be submitted. Just so we know when we submit data, and then set submitted potentially. All right, let's start with submitted. So what I'm going to do is, if the response is okay, I want to change the submitted to be true. And now I can wrap the form here. Where is it? So here is our form. And now I can wrap this in, if we get submitted, then we can display something such as data submitted successfully. Or we can wrap everything, format it, and that's it. So now, if I was to refresh, add new book, title, rad, submit, nothing happened. And this is because I've put submitted here. Yep, set submitted is what I need to put. Sorry about that. Let's try one more time. Rad 1, 2, 3. Submitted, data submitted successfully. We go back to books, and then we have rad. Okay, cool. So add new book. Let's finish the rest. So here, while we have slug, we're gonna add one more. So I'm gonna copy this. This is gonna be stars. Text, stars, set stars. That's it. Copy this. Description. This is going to be description. And then set description. Technically speaking, this needs to be a text area, so let's do it. Text area can have rows of 4. Calls can be 50. Type can be removed. The value can be the description. Yep, and that's absolutely fine, I think. Save it. Yep, it's looking good. Let's do the categories. I'm gonna do an input, so I'm gonna grab this one here. And I'm gonna cheat here and do comma separate. This is gonna be equals the type of text, value, categories. And instead of on change, this is gonna be a little bit more complex. And I'm gonna do it as a function. So I'm gonna do handle category change. Copy this and let's create this function. So maybe around here, we're gonna do const handle category change, get the event, and then this is gonna be set categories. And then what I'm going to do is event.target, and then I'm going to do value. So we're getting the value, and I want to split the value. So split, and we're going to split it by comma so we can add more categories. And then I'm going to do map categories. Sorry, map category. This is going to be an arrow function, and we're going to do category trim. Like so. I think that should work. Now if I go back super quickly, refresh, and what are the categories? Let's do science, romance. I think that's working. Okay, cool. Now let's have a look at how we can submit the data, and that would be exactly the same as before. So where we have the title and the slug, we can do exactly the same thing. And then the thumbnail I'm going to leave. Now let's test this first. So new book for this is a description. Submit. Okay, successfully submitted. Let's go to books and then new book here. We're getting the new book, we're getting, this is the description, the stars are coming up, the category does not seem to come up, so let me refresh the API. The category did not work, and this is most likely because of this categories. It should be category. Let's try one more time. Let's refresh the database, and as you can see, this one works. Okay, so it was just the category. We can definitely visit it here, and yeah, everything works except the thumbnail. So this is where it gets a little bit more complicated, and we're gonna have to bring another library in order to submit the image. And this is not gonna work. But the reason I showed you this is because in most cases, this is what you're gonna do. And in this case where we're gonna browse the image, we're gonna have to do something else. How should I do this? I'm gonna copy this and just save it here so you can have it. And now in this case, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but remove the body and the headers. And in fact, the body can be set to a form data that we're going to create now. So form data, like so. This is because we can't really send the image as application JSON. There is an easier way from here by doing form data. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing, pretty much. Const form data. equals new form data, and then in this case we can just append the data. So form data dot append, and we can start appending all of the data that we had essentially here. I'm going to paste in here so I can see it, and we're going to do title, comma, title, append one more time, slug, comma, slug, and then the last one is going to be the thumbnail. Like so. And now we've passed this data to the body here. Cool. Now we need to do the backend stuff. If we save this, everything should be working as before. Yep, everything is looking good. And now if you go back to our server here, I'm gonna make a copy of this so you have an example. Okay, I'm gonna have to open the command line, stop Node.js, and then we need to install one more package called motor. Let's run Node.js one more time. So it's running in the background and we can hide this. Right, let's include motor at the top here. So I'm gonna do const motor equals require, and then we're going to require motor. Like so. In order to be able to upload the images, you will need to have this, which we added earlier. And I'm going to show you super quickly how we can use motor by doing it inside here. So if you go back to the browser, and you can go to the official package here, and the code that I need, basically they give you a really good example here, and the code that I need super quickly is going to be this. So I'm going to copy the whole thing and paste in here. And for my post route here, I need to have middleware inside. So I'm going to do upload dot single and then thumbnail. So this is what we are sending from the form. It's called thumbnail, and this is what we also have in our database as well. And now just to explain how this works, basically here we have the storage, which is essentially where we upload the images. And in this case, I'm going to remove this and do upload slash, and then here is the file name. Now this is pretty cool because this is going to give your images a unique file name. It's going to get the date now, and it's going to do a random number, and then this unique suffix is going to be added to the file name. But I'm going to change this a little bit all the way around. So I'm going to put the unique suffix in here, and you don't have to have that, but then it is nice. And then I'm going to glue it with the file name, with the original file name. So I'm going to do plus, and then we can grab the original file name by doing file dot original file name, original name. And I can show you how this works, because where we do console log body, we can do console log dot file. If I open the command line, I'll show you in a second how this works. Now everything stays the same here, but we also add the thumbnail. That's absolutely fine. And if you go back to the React application, sorry about that, sorry about the jump in, but if you go back here where we have the input, we're gonna have to change this as well. So I'm gonna do on change, and we're gonna do on image change, and we can now create this function, and we can swap this to image. So we have a default image, and then if you upload a new one, it swaps around. So somewhere around here, const image set image equals use state, and this is going to be no image selected. Basically, we're creating a state for this image. The default state is going to be this image, but if we upload a new one, we want to replace it. So inside here, we're going to do const on image change event if event dot target files and event target files 0. Then inside here we can set the image, so we can replace it to url.create object url event.target files. So we are basically getting the image, and then we can set a thumbnail to the event.target files and then 0. Yep, we need to change this to event. That's much better. And I spotted a mistake here, files, and this needs to be capitalized. Okay, save this, and now if we go back, refresh, and then choose file, the cat, as you can see, the image changes. Technically speaking, now cat 5 stars, this is a cat category, submit. Failed, submit data. Alright, and one thing that I noticed super quickly, it's here where we have form data. This needs to be form data like so, otherwise it won't send. Okay, let's try cat. Submit. Data submitted successfully. Books. I don't see our cat. Here is a cat here. Everything is worked actually, except the image. Okay, that's not too bad. So if we look at the console log super quickly, you will see that we're getting the title select stars description. That's Node.js, by the way. And then we have the file name. So file name is thumbnail, original name is cat.jpg, encoding, destination, file name, and so on. So I need to check whether we save this into the database. So where cat is, we don't have thumbnail. Okay, we're gonna go back to the Node.js, and this needs to be, instead of thumbnail, this needs to be the file name. Yep, okay. So the picture was probably uploaded. In fact, we need to check that. If you go here, upload. So yeah, here it is, the cat image. It has been uploaded. Let's do it one more time now. Books, add new book, dog 5. This is a dog. Let's choose the cat. Submit. Successfully submitted. Books. And now we have our cat here. So, well, it's a dog, but yeah, you know. So everything is working here, which is amazing. And now we can look into how we can edit this. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is the update route or the edit route. So we can edit a book. So I'm going to go back to the server here, and then let's open the index.js, and I'm going to copy this here, which is the app.post. So I'm going to copy him and paste it around here. And instead of post, I'm going to add put like so, and everything else stays the same. So let's remove all this. And since we're passing a body full of data, we're going to need to grab a specific book ID in order to query the database and update it. So what I'm going to do in this case, here I'm going to create a const, and I'm going to call it book ID, and this is going to be equals request.body and then book ID. That's how we're going to know which book we're going to update. And instead of new book, I'm going to remove all of this like so, and this is going to be called update book like so. I can remove this, and now instead of automatically updating the thumbnail, sometimes an item might already have a thumbnail, as you can see in here. So we've already got this thumbnail and you might not want to update it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an if statement here, and I'm going to say if we get a new request with a file, then we want to update the thumbnail. And in order to do this, I'm going to do update book and then dot thumbnail, and then this is going to be equals the request file and then file name like so. Now from here, we need to change the query a little bit. Instead of await book create, we're going to do await book find by ID and update like so. And inside here, we need to pass the first parameter is going to be the ID of the book. So I'm going to grab it from here. This is going to be this ID here. And then we can pass the object of updated book inside here. So all the parameters, the title, slug, stars, and so on can go inside here. And that's it. So this is going to be our route and we can close this. Let's go back to our client and go to source, route, book. And now let's create a new one. Maybe we can call it edit or update. Let's go for edit. Book.jsx because we've already created the link with edit somewhere, I think. So this one here, edit book. And now we can pretty much copy the create book.jsx. Before we do that, let's do RFCE, edit book. Let's do that. And then let's go to the app.jsx and let's make sure that we add it. So inside here, we import edit book like so. And then inside here, we need to add it. So instead of create, this is going to be edit book. And then we need to put a slug in this case, and we replace it. Cool. Now, if I click on the edit, you should be able to see that we're getting the URL parameter here, and we're under edit book, which is great. So we can pretty much close this. We can pretty much copy most of the stuff from create book. In fact, I'm thinking of copying the entire thing, pasting it here, and instead of create book, let's call it or edit book. And change it here. Cool. Save this. Let's go back, refresh, and we broke it. It's this one here that we need to change. So edit book like so. And here we go. Now we have the edit book page. We need to change the title first of all. Let's remove all this as well. So the title will be edit book like so. So the idea is to use the normal get route, which is this one here. So the read one, API books, and then the ID. In this case, we're using slug, but the idea is to use this, grab a specific book and populate the fields inside here. So let's do that. We've pretty much already done this, but let's do it around here and I'll show you how we can do it again. In order to fetch the data, we'll need use state here, but we also need use effect like so. And then we also need to grab the parameter from the URL. So I'm going to do import. We can import the link just in case we might need it later on and use param like so. And then from, and this is going to be equals React router DOM like so. And inside here, we can use the use params to get the slug. So I'm going to do const URL slug equals use params like so. And now I can do a base URL const URL equals, and this is going to be equals HTTP localhost of 8000 /API /books, and then we bring the URL slug from here, just like so, and we are good to go. If I was to console log this, do base URL, sorry about this. If we do it like that, now we should be able to see that we're getting object, and this is because I forgot to do the slug here at the bottom. And that's it. So we're getting API books, the Great Gatsby. So now we should be able to fetch the data and populate the fields. So to do this, I'm gonna create a new function here, const fetch data, async, and then from here we can do try catch. Inside the try, we can do const response equals await fetch, and we can get the base URL from here. And then we can check if the response is not okay. Then we can throw an error. fetch data like so. And then if it's successful, we can do const data equals, and then we can await the response. And then we can convert the response to JSON like so. And now, because all fields have, for example, we have title in here, and we have the set title, which we can use to update the title, but each input has this value. For example, the title has a value of title, the slug has a value of slug, we can update them. So we get in the data from the database here, and now I can do set title, and then we can do data.title, which comes from the database. And now if I go back and refresh, you will see that it's not working, and this is because I forgot to invoke the function. So I'm gonna do use effect here, like so, and then we can invoke the function. And don't forget to put the comma and then empty array, otherwise this is gonna live forever and use all your data. And now as you can see, we have the Great Gatsby, which comes from the database. If I go to another book, for example, Harry Potter, edit, you'll see that we get Harry Potter and so on. So we need to do the same for the rest of the data. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potentially. So set slug, set stars, set category. This is going to be set description, and then data dot description, and maybe set thumbnail, data dot thumbnail, like so. Okay, so everything seems to be working fine. So we get in the title, the slug, the stars, but we're not getting the image. So for the image, we can use the thumbnail here, and let's have a look at what happens. So for the image, we can use the thumbnail in here potentially. But also this thumbnail comes, the actual image comes from the server. So we're gonna have to do, wrap everything in curly brackets. And now in single slanted quotes, we can do $sign to bring the thumbnail. But then before this, we need to do HTTP and put the server URL. Okay, now we have Harry Potter, which is cool. I think that could be it. The last thing that we need to do is when we submit the data, so where we have the form, we have create book. In this case, you can update this to be update book, of course, but I'm going to leave as it is for now. And now inside here, we also need to append the ID because our server needs to know the ID in order to update the specific book. So I'm gonna have to do this by coming in here. We're gonna create one more, so the title can be changed to book ID maybe. Strange way of doing this, I think, but should work. So book ID and then set book ID. That's cool. And now I can use set book ID to update it by getting it from the database. So data._ID, and we were getting basically this, updating the book ID value. And now I'm hoping that we can put this in the top here, and I'm hoping that we can append it inside here now and pass it through the body. So form data append book ID and then book ID, like so. All right, hopefully we come back to Harry Potter, refresh, and if I do Harry Potter 1, submit, I should have inspected this and console log, failed to submit data. Okay, so this might be because we didn't submit a new image. At the moment, it's thinking that we're not submitting a new image. And here, where we have form data append, we can grab this and we can append it. So if we have a thumbnail already set, then we can do form data and we can attempt the thumbnail. But if we don't have one, if we haven't added one, then we want to leave the default one. So in this case, the Harry Potter one. Let's refresh one more time, inspect, console this time, and now if I do Harry Potter 1, submit, failed to submit data. Yep, this is also because inside here we need to change this to put and save. Let's have a look at whether this works now. Sorry about this. Harry Potter 12, submit. And here we go. We have data submitted successfully. And then if you go to books and if we go to Harry Potter, you will see that Harry Potter is now 12. I can do this, update it. Maybe we can give it 3 stars and we can put this new fiction and then fantasy, submit, successful, cool. Where is it? Harry Potter. You will see that we have fiction, fantasy, new, updated. And if I wanted to update the image as well, I'm gonna add the cat here. It's breaking the preview, which we can potentially fix. But now if I submit it successfully, and now as you can see, Harry Potter has updated the cover here. It does break it when I choose a new file. Yep, and this is because potentially, let's have a look. Potentially we can check if we have the image. Let's have a look. I'm not so sure about this one. Thumbnail. I am thinking that potentially we can check if we have the image, and that needs to be set to empty. Okay. And if we have an image, question mark, inside here, let's see this. Let's try this. Basically what's breaking is this URL here. Format. Okay, let's see. Choose cat. Yes. Okay, so we're updating. I don't have another picture, but we can update in our book. So this one here, The Great Gatsby, edit it. New. I'm gonna add my cat. Update, submit. Okay, awesome. That's it. And as you can see, this is now updated. The last thing that I'm gonna do is inside here, inside the edit, I'm gonna add somewhere a delete button, and then we're gonna do the delete route. So for the delete, let's save this and let's go back to our server index.js, and somewhere here, somewhere around here, it doesn't really matter. Let's focus on this one. We can do app.delete. And then from here, we can do API/books/ and then the ID of the book that we want to delete. And this is going to be an asynchronous function. We're going to have the request and the response. And then inside here, we can do const book ID to grab the book ID. And then we can grab from the params, so request.params, and then .id, which is this one here. And now we can do try, catch, and then inside here we can do await book.delete1. And in order to delete one, we need to pass, we can use the ID, and then we can pass the ID from here, like so. And for the catch, we can just do res.json error for now. And then for the response here, we also need a response here, so res.json, and then I'm gonna do how dare you plus, and then we can do plus request.body.book ID if you want to see the book ID that you deleted. Cool, that's it. That's the delete route. Obviously I'm gonna tidy all this up later. I just wanted us to focus on one route at a time. Save this. Let's go back to React, and we're going to do this in the edit book, and maybe we can add it around here. So I'm going to do a button, and then this button is going to have a on click, and we're going to create a function called remove book. And then inside here, I'm going to, actually I need a class name for this. Class name, delete. I think I just made the button red. That's pretty much it. And then this is going to say delete book. Okay, let's see how it looks. It might break actually. Yeah, it will, because this function does not exist. So let's create this function here. Const remove book. And then this is going to be async event. And then we need to prevent the default. So e.prevent default like so, and save. Let's see. It's not very pretty, but that should do the job. So delete book. When we press it, we want to go to the route and delete the specific book. Try catching here. And then inside the try, we can do const response await equals, response equals await fetch, and then we fetch the URL, which is going to be http localhost of 8000 API /books, and then slash, and then we need to pass the book ID. So I'm going to do plus book ID because we have it already in here set. Where is it? Book ID. We've already got it in here and we're updating it from here. We're setting it from the database when we go on that page so we can reuse it. And now we need to change the fetch method by doing curly brackets, and then inside here method delete like so. And now we can do the usual around here. We can do if response dot okay. Then we want to navigate, and then I'm just going to navigate to books when we delete the record. We also need to add the navigate function, so we're going to go here to the top and maybe add it around here. This can be const navigate equals, and this is going to be use navigate. Press enter, and if it doesn't add it in here from React route to DOM, add it manually like so, and now we can use the navigate. So copy, and where were we here? Navigate. Oh, did I misspell this? Okay, navigate /book. That's absolutely fine. And maybe we can do console.log book removed. Okay, for the, let's do right click and format. And for the catch error, we can just do console.error for now. Okay, save this. And now we're on the Great Gatsby, and it's gone. If I click on all of these that we added earlier when we were testing, edit, gone. Should be gone, edit, gone. Yep, as you can see they are, as you can see they are deleted now, gone. And let's remove this one here as well. Final one, edit, delete book, and the Hobbit is gone. I think that's going to be pretty much everything from this tutorial. It was supposed to be a very simple one, and it ended up being a full-on React tutorial. If you learned something from it, make sure that you hit the like button, consider subscribing, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.